So, you're in the market to play some free games on your Xbox Series X or S, or maybe you're still gaming on the One S or One X and you really haven't looked into what free games are worth playing that are available to you. And really, between the amount of free games these days, or what's included with games with Gold or Game Pass, there's a ton of great games to play that are free or which can be played for minimal outlay. A number of different games across a number of different genres, but if you're into battle royale games or MMOs, then you'll get a number of free games that fit your taste. But I wanted to check out some others that you may either haven't heard of or didn't know were free. And now that Microsoft has removed the need for Xbox Live Gold to play some of these online, these are now truly free to play. And also know that there can be microtransactions in these games, which vary from game to game. But please, if you like the video, then give it a thumbs up, share it around, subscribe, and leave a comment, as it greatly helps the video and channel get pushed out. Check the description for a link to the Discord to talk everything Xbox and gaming, but now let's get to it. At number 10, we start with the fighting game of Killer Instinct, and this is often forgotten by many, or maybe a lot of gamers don't even know this exists at all, but this is a series which has been around for decades, starting its life all the way back in 1994 on the Super Nintendo, at a time where gaming arcades and fighting games were all the rage, and the latest incarnation of the series was released in 2013 along with the Xbox One. So Killer Instinct isn't a new game at all, and it's had several seasons over the years, and although it's no longer supported these days, if you're after a fighter to check out, then this has a large roster and a number of stages for you to fight on. Plus, the graphics got an overhaul in 2016, which improved things like lighting and reflections, and it does look better than it did at launch, that's for sure. But considering the update is getting on in years now, it doesn't graphically compare to the latest and greatest fighters, but don't let that stop you from playing this. Even if you're only mildly interested in the genre, such as myself, you should give this a chance, even more if you have friends to play it with, as like I said, the roster is large, so it will take some time to master all of the characters and their moves. If you've had enough of the likes of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, same as many did back in the 90s, perhaps when they gave the original Killer Instinct a go, and check this one out even today. And for number 9, we have the original Crackdown, the Xbox 360 game from 2007. That was a bit of a surprise, as it gave players that almost superhero-like feeling with their agent, having weaponry that could take down a small nation and cause absolute chaos, but where we could also upgrade our character, where for example, we could jump higher and further, and this was great fun when running around the city, making our way up high buildings and jumping across the rooftops, or falling from heights and being able to withstand it. Crackdown wasn't the game that you went to for great character development and an in-depth story. Hell, it wasn't even the game you went to when you wanted in-depth gameplay and combat. It's the game you played when you wanted to switch off your brain and just have some mindless action, and it got it pretty right. This had a third, disappointing entrant a couple of years ago, and even though that one does look better, it never really innovated in any way, but I always feel it's good to go back and see where a series started, and now you can for free, and check out the first game from the Xbox 360 days. Big, dumb fun. You may not play it through to completion, but hey, it's free. At number 8, we have the Battle Royale of Apex Legends, and anyone who follows me on the channel would know I'm not the biggest Battle Royale fan out there. When it comes to multiplayer shooters, I prefer your more arena-based games such as Halo and another entrant on the list. But when it comes to which Battle Royale games I like, then it's gotta be Apex Legends, and some of that stems from me just thinking Respawn Entertainment is just an awesome developer. But it also tells me that the huge success of Apex Legends, that a third game in the Titanfall series may not be happening, which is really disappointing, as Titanfall 2 was just excellent, especially its campaign. But anyway, Apex Legends sees teams of 3 or 2 get plunged into one of the several maps where you run around grabbing weapons and items before you go about hunting down and eliminating the opposing teams as you try to be the last man standing or the last team standing. Now, I rarely play these sorts of games, and I'm pretty terrible at them too. But if you have some friends to play with and can communicate, then that will no doubt lead you to some success. This hasn't received an Xbox Series X enhancement just yet, and that should come out this year, so full 4K and options for 120 frames aren't there yet. But if you're in the mood for Battle Royale, then give this one a go. For number 7, we have the incredibly popular and skillful Rocket League, and here is another game that I'm no good at. And if you're going online with this one, then perhaps even more than any other game, be prepared to absolutely get destroyed by many other players who have been refining their skills for years, and you'll watch them score goals and pull off moves which just leave you scratching your head as to how they did it, and how you'll probably never be that good without investing a substantial amount of time with the game and playing online. For those who are unaware of it, it's basically two teams trying to put the ball in the opponent's goal. It's basically soccer cars, which pretty much sums it up. Your rocket-powered car can flip and boost, and you can drive all over the arena, including up the sides of it, but Rocket League is one of those games which is very easy to just pick up and play with a bunch of friends, but incredibly difficult and time-consuming to master. It's a very simple concept, but the gameplay is very deep. For me, it's one of those games to load up every now and again for something different, but if you're new to the game and can organise a group of friends for a private match, then that's probably some of the most fun you'll have. Check this one out. And for number 6, we have the controversial and stuck in an almost endless developmental cycle of Too Human. The game often forgotten about, and when remembered, it's usually for the wrong reasons. But of course, this can be played free of charge now, so it's worth investing some time into this older Xbox 360 game, which was stuck in development hell for a long time. This game finally made its way to store shelves back in 2008 after almost being in development for 10 years, and it did switch systems from the original PlayStation, then onto GameCube, and then settled on the Xbox 360. The game is focused on Norse mythology, but also has a sci-fi twist whereby characters have cybernetic augmentation, and I actually didn't mind the story side of things. Not great, but it had my interest as I played this third-person action RPG. It does take some getting used to the controls and the camera, and the character movement kind of feels like you're moving through mud, like everything should be quicker. You'll be fighting against the camera, and the use of the right thumbstick in order to attack does take some getting used to as well, and never really feels like it was the best control scheme to go with. But even with the issues, try this one out, even just to say that you've played it. For number 5, we go with the superhero theme with DC Universe Online, a massively multiplayer game, and this one is actually over 10 years old now, with multiple versions which span the PC and consoles. And one heads up though, when going into this one, expect it to look like a 10-year-old game, as there is nothing here that is going to impress you or wow you from a visual standpoint. But if you've always wanted an almost endless amount of quests to do as a superhero, then this is your game. Players start by creating their hero with their physical characteristics, plus whether you're more of a hero or a villain, and most importantly, what sort of superpower. And with my two characters, it was all about flight like Superman and super speed like the Flash, which of course helps when getting around the map, and these can be upgraded as you level up. And now I haven't gone back to this game for a while, as the missions themselves were a bit on the plain and repetitive side. But again, like most MMOs, this is best played with other people, and if you're a big fan of superheroes, then this is a no-brainer of course. You need to check this one out. At number 4, we have Dauntless, and the best way to describe this, as I have before, is to think of it like Monster Hunter, but without the big budget and extra layers of complexity that long-running series has. And that will ultimately determine how invested you become in the game and how much you put into it, as it does lack a little in terms of variety with the different areas, but then it's a lot easier to get into it, as you're basically hacking and slashing away at monsters with your weapon of choice not long after starting the game up. So of course you get to create your character, and you'll slowly level them up as you become bigger and stronger and taking on more and harder enemies. That's pretty much the gameplay loop, so if that appeals to you, then give this one a go. The game has this very colourful and vibrant world, and those are complete with snow, deserts, more lush areas and all the rest. This is one of those games which may get its hooks into you, as you're always taking more and more quests and killing more and more enemies, and always becoming stronger as you level up. Over a longer term, your interest may fall off a bit due to some of that lack of complexity I mentioned earlier, but it's worth trying out if you're into these sorts of games. And for number 3, it's the more arena-like shooter of Rogue Company, and this one really is a lot of fun, even if you just want to sit back and relax and just shoot the bots, as each of the playable characters you can choose from are different to control, and the different weapons and good amount of maps keeps things fresh as you play the different game modes. This has the same sort of opening like a battle royale game does, where you launch yourself out of a plane onto the battlefield, but whereas you can kind of choose where to land in those sorts of games, This one is much more limited, as each of the two teams are landing either side of the map, and these aren't large or anything like that, so you'll often be engaged in combat within 20 seconds of landing. But the gunplay and movement here is really solid and responsive, and it has a great speed to the gameplay as well. You'll be wanting to get into a team and communicate if you want to take on the different game modes that are more than just simply killing the other team. But I'm sure I mentioned it in another video, where this is a game you can just lose hours into, as I did, always just wanting to play one more game. It's really great, and not just for a free game, it's just a great game period. Coming in at number 2 is Warframe, the game with a gigantic amount of stuff to do and collect, and you'll want to like grinding for this one if you're wanting to accumulate several of the Warframes that you can wear. This is a game that has been around since 2013, so it's had a number of enhancements and updates, and it's transformed the game into a bit of a behemoth in terms of content, and it has a very passionate community to go along with it as well. This third-person shooter has some really great movement mechanics in it, which makes the gun combat really enjoyable, but also makes moving around the levels and environments a lot more interesting instead of only just running around everywhere. Now, if you decide to check this one out, then you will need to play it, I would say, for a few dozen hours before the story started to get interesting for myself, and where it went beyond just a looter shooter. And being one of those games, it will depend on how much you like the grind and how much you want to keep doing it to get different weapons and upgrades that you're after. If you've never played this, then check it out. But like a lot of games on this list, you can lose hundreds of hours if you want to. And at number 1, it's Destiny 2, and this is here even though that this year I really can't get myself to play it. Well, really not much at all, as I feel like I've exhausted what I want from the game until a really large, almost game-changing expansion hits next. But that doesn't stop this being a game that you should definitely experience, especially now that a large chunk of it is free, as Destiny has always got one thing right, one thing it's nailed, and that's how damn fun it is to shoot the guns and kill these enemies, but it's still a looter. Plus, it's kind of synonymous wherever the genre is spoken of, so you most likely know what you're getting yourself into, and even though I'm a bit over it, this still offers a ton of content, both in PvE, plus it has the PvP to go along with it. Just don't expect something that's great and balanced. It's very fun though, if you don't take it seriously. Destiny has always been fantastic though when it comes to its weapon designs and its lore, with the real problem mostly being that the lore isn't portrayed very well within the actual game. Add a couple of friends into the mix and hours can go past as you just chat and play the various parts of the game. There's a lot to like here, so take a look at it and see if it's something you would put a lot more time into. So there's some great free-to-play games that you can check out, and even better now that the Xbox Live paywall has been taken down, and there's many more than what appear here. But I just wanted to give a special mention to Path of Exile, which I almost have no time in, but with further playtime, there would be a high chance it would get on this list as well. But please let me know which free games are your favorites and which ones you want to check out the most. Please let me know down below. But if you liked the video, then give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share it around, as it really helps the video and channel get pushed out to more people. Check the description for a link to the Discord to talk everything Xbox and gaming, and I'll see you on the next video.